this is Larry London. Welcome to Border Crossings. And today on our program, we are speaking with a singer-songwriter named Matt Stell, who has a new EP out. And we'd like to welcome Matt Stell to the Voice of America. Welcome from the Ozarks of the South.
How y'all doing, man?
Good. I was referring to, of course, Clinton, Arkansas, where you're from.
Yep, I was born in Clinton and raised just south of there. Yep, I sure was.
Small town, 2,000 people. So now where are you living?
I live in Nashville now.
Wow.
Just right outside of town. Yeah,
So that's a big adjustment to come from a small town to Nashville.
quite a bit. As a matter of fact, I was born in Clinton and I'm from about, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes south of there now. And I think my town had 300 people in it. So
Wow.
there's more people on my neighborhood now than were back home. But that's all right.
Wow. A long way from home. Well, we're glad you're with us. And I know that you've had, I believe it was maybe 4 independent albums, if I'm not mistaken. You've put out a number of independent albums. And so now you've got a new EP. And how has the music evolved for you? I mean, is it the same? Is it different? How has the journey been for Matt Stell?
Sure. Well, it's quite a bit different now. I started making music, as soon as I learned how to play, I wanted to record original music and I did it. And I've made a lot of mistakes along the way doing that. But most of that journey, I would say, is trying to figure out my own voice. And I feel like at this point, I'm able to kind of tap into that and use it fairly effortlessly and kind of figuring out what perspective I come from and those kinds of things. And, a lot of that is what makes, to me, what makes songs and artists cool is maybe a kind of a unique perspective. And, hopefully we've got that honed in a little bit.
And you had an interesting journey, which started off as a basketball player. I mean, you got a basketball scholarship, so you've done very well in the sport of basketball. And so maybe music wasn't always the dream for you?
No, it really wasn't. I didn't start playing until I was in college. Basketball being a winter sport, right? You're on campus the whole winter break pretty much. And when you're not at practice or traveling, man, it gets a little bit boring. So instead of playing PlayStation all day like I was, I asked my mom to bring up this guitar she had got me when I was like 12 or something, and I never played it. And she brought it up, and I sat in front of a computer screen just like this and learned how to play all those country songs and southern rock songs and bluegrass and all that you play at a frat house. And that's kind of where I started. And as soon as I could mash 4 chords together, I started writing songs. So I've been writing songs for almost as long as I've been playing guitar.
So what evolved into the songwriting? Did you write stories, poems, or how did the evolution happen for you?
Yeah, I originally started writing songs about just kind of immediate things around me and people around me, and a lot of songs about old men for whatever reason. And some of the first songs I was doing was that, and then the kind of music that I loved was kind of independent sounding country music, and a lot of that's drinking songs and heartbreak songs. So I kind of felt that comes pretty easy to me. Came pretty easy then and comes pretty easy now. So that's kind of the world that I spend a lot of time in.
Would you do a song for us? I'd love to hear some live music.
I sure would. This song right here is our current radio single right now. It's called it's a title. Well, I shouldn't say title track. It's a single off the new EP. Better Than That. It's called Every Word
new EP is called Better Than That. So the song you just sang, very personal, talking about traveling and the journeys and how things have affected your life. Is that from a personal perspective? Is that like autobiographical when you write music, or?
You know, a lot of this song in particular really is. You know, I like to say when I wrote this song, it was true, and then now as we sit here, as it's been released, it's gotten truer. So it's a song that I wrote with some friends of mine. It's one of my favorites I've ever written, and just kind of telling a story about a lot of life I've lived, because you know there's this fine line between moving on and staying busy, right? Between that and between if you're like me on the road all the time running from your problems. So you know that's kind of exploring that space a little bit, and which is what I like for songs to do.
Is the new EP Better Than That autobiographical? I mean, is there a story that's going on the EP that you're telling?
A lot of it, you know, I always think about songs in terms of having, you know, a lead character, almost like a movie, you know, and you know, on this EP and a lot of the music that I put out, that character, that protagonist is usually more or less like me, you know, or at least like a moment of my life, or at least someone that I can really identify with. Typically, not always, but typically, and this EP is no exception. You know, we try to cover the gambit between, you know, love lost for fun reasons, you know, love lost for awful reasons, and the things that make things go off the rails, and then also, you know, finding it and celebrating it when it goes right. So we try to get ditch to ditch on those kinds of topics.
That's great. I mean, you know, it's attracted, I believe, over 340 million streams so far, some of the music that you've been putting out. So that's, you know, that's gotta feel pretty good.
Man, you know, it really does feel good. It feels good because, you know, the folks that I've written these songs with, along with the folks that help get the music out to the world, and then, you know, the folks that help facilitate everything we do, from touring live to setting up, you know, getting to visit with folks. You know, now a lot of times computer mediated, you know, this way. It just takes a whole lot of people passionate about a project, and so I'm lucky there. I've got a lot of passionate people around me.
And how has this whole COVID pandemic thing affected what you do and affected your life?
Well, you know, I basically have two jobs, right? So, you know, I'm an artist and songwriter, and the artist part of it has been put on hold, just in terms of playing live. Obviously, you know, that's the big bulk of what we do, is playing live and making appearances, and so we really missed that, and it's really decimated that part of it. The silver lining is that the other part of my life and job is songwriting, and I've really had way more time to write now than I would have, because I'm not on the road so much. So, you know, if there is a silver lining, it's how much time I get to spend pretty much sitting right here with a guitar in my hand on a Zoom call, trying to collaborate, trying to write songs.
Have you been able to keep in touch with your fans in this environment? Otherwise, I guess you kind of go crazy if you can't have any interaction.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I always think about, you know, this stuff happening now is, you know, it's never a good time, but there's definitely worse times for a pandemic to separate you, because we have so many ways to kind of stay in touch, whether that's social media or you know, just regular media, you know, things like that. So it is really nice to be able to reach out and to play some music for folks that want to hear it, and kind of visit and stay connected, like you said.
Have you gotten inspiration for any songs from this situation? Have you written anything about how this has changed life?
Yeah, you know, I've written some songs that kind of hint at it. I haven't. I typically find that kind of paradoxically, I'm interested. A lot of times I'll be interested in writing the opposite kind of song versus the kind of mood of the day, right? So like, if, you know, happy good times might find me writing sad songs, whereas, you know, hard times might have me writing happy songs. You know, it's not that correlation isn't direct. And so I feel like by the time we kind of get some perspective on this, when we get towards the other side of it, it'll be a little bit easier to make some, you know, to kind of include it in an organic way. Because right now, you know, it's still kind of figuring out what it actually really is. You know, I'm getting better at it, but it's still kind of new and fresh, the way that the world has changed because of it.
It's been a crazy year. 2020's been a wild ride. Yeah. And, you know, hopefully things get better in the future in 2021 for everyone. Do you like to be on the road? Is that something you like to do? I was reading where, you know, you did a medical mission in Haiti at one point in your life.
Yeah, you know, I do love being on the road, and a lot of times the road feels like home. So having been largely home for several months has been quite a bit of a departure, because you know, we like to get the band and crew in the bus and burn some diesel fuel and blow out amps. You know, that's kind of our thing. So so we're looking forward to get back on the road just as quick as we can.
Has this social media setting allowed you to become connected to other people in other parts of the world with your music that you obviously otherwise wouldn't have if you're just touring in the US? But are you hearing from other countries on social media?
I do hear from other countries on social media. I sure do. It's always, I'm always just amazed at the reach that music can have, and especially in this day and age. You know, when I get a message from Scandinavia, or I get a message from Asia or Australia or something like that, to know that the music has kind of found its way all the way out there. It's pretty cool, man. It's a pretty cool time.
Well, that's great. Matt Stell is our guest, and would you do another song for us?
I sure will. It's one of my favorite songs to play right now. It's called Better Than That. It goes like this. At a booth in the corner over my shoulder, I saw you when you first walked in. I might have said hi at that one night tide, hadn't started circling. In an auburn cap, but you got crimson on, talking way too loud, trying to make you laugh, coming on way too strong. It's all wrong. You ain't a shot of Jaeger from a stranger at a dime bar, his hands along your body on the dance floor, trying to first kiss you up against the wall. I know you're better than that. It ain't the move, ain't what you do. You don't know the first thing about you. I know you're better than that. I know you're better than that, yeah. You're a Tangerine tonic, a song comes on it, makes you wanna sing along. You would talk all night, if you play your cards right, a text when you get back home. You ain't a shot of Jaeger from a stranger at a dime bar, his hands along your body on the dance floor, trying to first kiss you up against the wall. I know you're better than that. It ain't the move, ain't what you do. You don't know the first thing about you. I know you're better than that. I know you're better than that. Yes, I do. Girl, I just wanna talk and try to get you back, but I know you better than that. You ain't a shot of Jaeger from a stranger at a dime bar, his hands along your body on the dance floor, trying to first kiss you up against the wall. I know you're better than that. It ain't the move, ain't what you do. You don't know the first thing about you. I know you're better than that. I know you're better than that. And you ain't a shot of Jaeger from a stranger at a dime bar. I know, his hands along your body on the dance floor. I know you're better than that. And it ain't the move, ain't what you do. You don't know the first thing about you. I know you're better than that. I know you're better than that. Baby, I know you're better than that. I know you're better. I know you're better than that.
Ooh, sounding great. Matt Stell is our guest here on the Voice of America. We're listening to a song, which is the title track off Better Than That, the new EP. Why did you go with that song as the title track to the album? Why'd you pick that title?
Well, I thought it was kind of an interesting title, you know, for a project, you know, to be, you know, to be like, well, it's better than that, you know what I mean? Just kind of a little play on words, and also that song is it's pretty indicative of kind of what we do, you know. That's sort of a kind of heavier, kind of rocky thing that probably deals with some kind of heartbreak somewhere in a bar, and kind of that chapter of life is something that that I always like to explore when I'm writing. And I don't know, it felt like it was pretty typical of what we do. You know, it's a pretty good kind of main street of what we do. Whereas, you know, like songs that have changed my life that I'll play here in a minute, like "Prayed for You" is a song that I love, and again changed my life. But it's you know, it's not it's that's a little bit of an outlier, and this song is much more of what we're about.
Is there a plan to release a full studio album coming up in 2021?
I think, yeah, there's plans for new music in 2021. You know, as we sit here, you know, it's hard to know how things get packaged and put together, but I do know that I've got a whiteboard over here of songs that I've written during the pandemic, and that I'm excited to get back in the studio as soon as I can.
Yeah, well, I bet that one of the highlights for you is performing on the Grand Ole Opry. I mean,
Oh
that's
man, it was so special, not only because of the Opry, but because I had, oh, I mean, 100 plus people come from where I'm from in Arkansas, and the family I've got in Texas and in Florida and other places came to share that night, to share that moment. Folks that don't leave Arkansas very much made their way, you know, out there, and that meant a whole lot to me. And getting to share that with family and friends was really special for sure. So that definitely added to it.
you gave up a career in medicine. You gave up the opportunity to be a doctor to pursue your hobbies, which became your passion, which is now your career. Have you ever thought about returning to medical school and going in that back in that direction, or no?
Well, I mean, not really, to be honest with you. You know, I'd moved to Nashville. I had some success writing songs in the Texas world, and moved to Nashville to kind of do that as well, or, you know, to try to do that here. And you know, in the time between moving here and finally getting offered a publishing deal, you know, there was a couple years where, you know, I didn't really know if I was doing the right thing. I didn't know if it was going to pan out. And I went on a medical outreach trip and worked alongside doctors that just, you know, had the ability and the want to go help these people that needed it. And I thought, man, if I wasn't playing music, you know, this would be something I'd like. So I applied to a pre-medical program because, you know, I do have a master's, but it's in communication. So I had a lot of catching up before I could apply to med school proper. But there was a pre-medical program that was catered to people just like me that I got accepted to. And I was about 2 months from leaving Nashville before I got the offer to write songs, and that turned into, you know, management and Prayed for You and a label and song on the radio, and here we sit.
Matt Stell is our guest, and we're talking about his new EP, Better Than That, which just came out. What's your plan for the holidays?
Man, I'm hoping to get to spend some time around home. You know, I've sort of avoided going home a little bit because of the pandemic, and I don't want to be the vector that spreads it, you know, back home. But we figured out ways where I go home and stay in my brother's camper and kind of visit with the folks outside as much as I can and take all the protocols. But hopefully the holidays are spent back in Arkansas. Yeah.
Well, great. It's great to have you on the show, Matt. And you're going to do another song for us?
I'd love to, man. Thank y'all so much for having me, and y'all have a great week and weekend here. This other way to say it, I know I said it earlier, but this song changed my whole life. I wrote it with Ash Bowers and Allison Belts here in town, and it's about a guy who's way luckier than he deserves, which is me. And it's called "Prayed for You." It's like this.
That's the new single, Prayed for You, from Matt Stell, and sounding great, Matt. Are you a religious guy?
I mean, I come from that tradition. I don't ever like to act like that I know anything more than anybody else does about that part of life. But I definitely feel like that. It's hard for me not to just be thankful for all the opportunities that I've had and all the that I don't really deserve, that other people probably do more than I do. So just try to be grateful. That's a big thing for me.
Mhm. And I imagine going to Haiti on the mission you went on kind of opened up your eyes to a lot of things. You saw, how people live in a different world. And I know in Haiti they'd gone through a lot of earthquakes and floods and all kinds of, terrible tragedies. And so I'm sure that you were there helping in a time of need.
As best I could, but like you said, you hesitate to say it's a great trip. Like I think transformative is maybe the best way to put it, because it just kind of gets you outside of your own bubble a little bit, and realizing that the way we have it isn't normal, and it's really good. And a lot of other people, through no real fault of their own, I didn't do anything to be born where I was born, to the parents I was. I got lucky, and you just want to do as much as you can to help other folks that aren't, whatever that might mean, but that's definitely what spurred us to want to go, for sure.
Where can people around the world, how can they find you? Where are your social media sites, your website? Where do they go?
Yeah, you can find us anywhere on all of them. Just Matt Stell Music is the handle that we use for just about everything. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, all the other ones as well, I'm sure. And then, mattstell.com if you're looking for tour dates and things like that. So we're pretty easy to find.
All right, Matt. Well, I hope you go out on the road internationally. We're broadcasting in 100 countries around the world. I know they'd like to see you play in person.
Awesome. Well, I hope to make it to each and every one of them, because I know I've learned from this whole experience is that I'm never taking another show for granted.
That's great. Great advice. Great words to live. Don't take another day for granted. Thank you, Matt Stell, for joining us. The new EP is Better Than That. Matt Stell's our guest, and you are watching Border Crossings.